Now let's get to our topic. We're going to talk about another project. It's an Italian project once again, but I'm gonna give a video in order to introduce this Italian person starting off the project. We have the architect Carlo Ratti with us. Hello, good evening. You are calling from Boston, right? Yes, from my balcony in Boston, in my house. Thank you for your time. We are going on with our initiative, with our presentation day. We launched on March 18th, Start a Future, in order to foster digital cooperation. Because we want to tell the story about innovative projects. We want to tell the story of startup companies and citizens who are coming up with new ideas to solve the emergency problem, but also to tackle other challenges. It's a great pleasure for us to have you here. You can hold your speech in Italian without any problems, because, of course, everything will be translated into English. And I can now give you the floor if you want to tell us something. I think you have a presentation, and if you want to share it with us. Yes, I'm going to share it straight away. But first of all, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to be very quick, actually, because we started with a sentence that I think is very beautiful by Ralph Manuel, who was Chief of Staff of Barack Obama and was the mayor of Chicago. And he said a few years ago, never let the crisis go to waste, because a crisis will change the world around you and you have to reinvent yourself. If we reinvent ourselves, and this is what happened over the last few weeks in a very short time, so 4-6 weeks. If you think about 4-6 weeks ago, many people in Italy were going skiing or having holidays, so the quarantine hadn't begun yet. And it changed the world, really, and we have to reinvent ourselves. So let me tell you a few things very quickly. The first is something that is on the mouth of everybody, but it's also very important for the future world, and it's how quickly we switched to a new way of working. Smart working, for instance. I've been reading that an important Italian CEO was saying, but look, people are also working from home. They can work from home. So maybe 20 years too late, he discovered smart working. So something that was already ongoing was eventually implemented. But I think that when the quarantine will be over, in years' time, I don't know, months' time, days' time, cities and countries will change. Many things will change. Physical space will be very important, of course, because we want to be great cities. Milan, London, New York. We want to visit big cities. We want to meet our friends, because this is also part of the enthusiasm related with the city. But maybe our work method can be more flexible, because now we're experiencing an extreme flexibility. I mean, you're calling people from around the world. I'm calling from my balcony, and I've been having 10 different calls today from people from all around the world, different countries, since this morning. So somehow we are accelerating some ongoing changes. We will probably work in a different way in the future. And the second thing is the idea not to let the crisis go to waste, because it's an opportunity. And I've got an idea to tell you about. Very simple. Some weeks ago, during a virtual meeting with my team, because in Carlo Ratti Associati, as a planning and designing company, we also have an innovation team, 200, 300 people around the world, Europe, US, Asia, and so on. So during this meeting, we said, what can we do with our skills in order to help? And several projects were put forward, one of which, of course, there are other projects that are still in the pipeline, but in the architectural team, and I'm going to show you the presentation. So what can we do? So an open source team is what we have. So people being able to develop a project that can be used by several people from around the world. As you can see, some of the first people helping us or companies helping us are written there. But in a few days' time, hundreds of subjects took part in the project, and we have thousands of emails. So people want to contribute to this project. Now, so you can see there are several projections on how the crisis will develop further. But one thing is clear: we need to increase the number of intensive treatment places. Because, of course, this will make a difference in the countries. If we don't quarantine, the number of infections will grow so fast with exponential curves that the healthcare system will collapse. So we need to make sure we have enough intensive treatment places for the patients. This means being in quarantine, staying home, because this way we can smoothen the peak, as we are saying in the USA. So what are we doing now? We've got intensive and sub-intensive treatment, and these activities were already implemented in Italy as well as in China. So temporary hospitals were built, tents or other structures used as hospitals. On the other end, a new prefabricated hospital, so a real prefabricated hospital. Well, using a conference hall, for instance, is easy to do a hospital, to make an hospital, but of course the virus will, however, circulate. And in that area, in the tent or in the prefabricated hospital, you've got an infected air, and this causes very difficult working conditions for the healthcare professionals and the whole staff working in there. Complete prefabricated hospital will work with under pressure, negative pressure, which means the intensive treatment units will have negative pressure so that the air and the virus can go in but cannot get out of the room, which means outside you've got protected areas where the medical staff can be standing or spending time without any particular protection or suits or helmets or masks and so on. So this is a situation we have in the best hospitals, basically. So intensive care units has a negative pressure environment, and this is a so-called biocontainment in technical terms. And prefabricated hospitals can be built quickly and can have the same principle. So we asked ourselves, can we do something like that? Very quick to build, a tent or a camp hospital, but very safe as a real hospital. So working together with a team, as I was saying, hundreds of people wanted to take part in this project. Engineers, Arab Jacobs or Philips, as companies, for instance, they're producing lots of medical materials, people helping us to visualize and implement the project, like FM Studio Milan or other studios in London. You can find the names in our website. So we imagined using containers. So if we create a negative pressure in containers, the containers will become intensive treatment units that have exactly the same requirements as a hospital unit. Easy to install, even quicker than a camp hospital, because containers are delivered with all of the necessary equipment installed. So you just need to connect water and the mains. And everything's available as open source material on the website, so it can be downloaded by anybody. This is the external module, which we called CURA, which is an English acronym. So basically, it is connected unit for respiratory ailments, so a unit for those who have respiratory problems. But you can see the material. Everything is in the website, and it's very easy, very simple. You can see all the different internal components, all of the medical equipment, developed together with engineers dealing with medicine, together with Philips as well as manufacturer as well. And here you've got different configurations. For instance, you can bring containers to a parking lot in front of a hospital and connect everything to the hospital with an inflatable structure that can create an extension for the intensive treatment unit. So, or you can have this 8-unit module or another module with more units. You can see different configurations, really. Here there's a short video. I don't know whether you can hear the audio. No, we can't hear anything. Okay, I'm going to explain it with my voice. You can see these are the components, the equipment installed in the container. Then the container can be easily transported and installed. You can have different configurations put together by this inflatable structure. And then, of course, you can find more information on the website. You also have an audio explanation, so more information maybe for you. And this work is a medical project, of course. This is the final picture I wanted to show you. So, as a medical project, it requires several weeks, of course. But working together as an open source project and team, sharing information in the net, very quickly, we managed in a week's time to come up to the first project proposal, and we were lucky enough to get people from around the world interested in our project using this information to create such modules, so intensive treatment units like this. And thanks to the support of Unicredit, we started creating one in Italy, so it will be finished next week, so with a record time, I would say, because sometimes if you order materials, building materials or medical materials, you have very long delivery time, 6-8 weeks for the shipping, and therefore it's astonishing we managed to build it in a week. And this is last week, for instance. After a few days it was painted, you've got the graphics on it and everything, and we are now in the installation phase, and it will be installed in a camp hospital next week for the emergency service. But of course there are also other initiatives around the world with governments, companies who took these drawings and wanted to do it for Canada, for Ecuador, Kuwait, and so on and so forth. So from all around the world there was lots of interest. And however, this was a very quick overview to give you some information in the last few weeks. And we started with a question. The question was sort of evoked by the sentence, never let a crisis go to waste. So how can we adapt our way to work, our working method? How can we contribute to a difficult situation? This was the question. This is what people do during war times. It is a different war, of course. Maybe it's a little better than a war, because in a war you always have countries against each other, a coalition against another coalition. In this sense, in this crisis, we are all joined together. We're all facing a common threat, and we're all together. And this will possibly create more unity around the world between countries and continents. So we can ask ourselves, what can we do? What can I do, personally do, in order to help? And this is one of the projects we wanted to put forward. Of course, we'll also have other projects I can tell you about. Just a hint, just a brief overview of some other project. So this is probably the most serious project because it's related to intensive treatment, but there is another project, a startup project based on our studio, Carlo Ratti, and it's called Scribit. CURA is a way to contribute to intensive treatment units in a lighter way, but other people in the team were thinking to other contributions as well. So Scribit, for instance, if you go to Scribit Instagram, or if you visit Scribit page, you will see it's a small robot writing on walls. It's a small startup company, spin-off of Carlo Ratti Studio, which is now a company producing Scribit. But since we're stuck at home, we were thinking about how using walls to do something different. In this case, to play Sudoku, for instance. So a cooperation was started with a Sudoku champion, Thomas Hinder, in order for people to work on its own, at home or with friends. Since we're all stuck at home in quarantine, or in on the balcony, for instance, we can't spend time outdoor. We need to use our walls. So I'm going to show you a video that explains how we can work a family space to do new things alone or with friends. So in different conditions, crisis conditions, where the world is changing, we need to understand how we can tackle these challenges, to reinvent ourselves, to rethink ourselves, and to offer something new in a very difficult moment. So on one hand, intensive treatment units or open source projects can be used by anyone, or Sudoku to play on the wall just to strengthen our relationships. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you and with us, and we invite you all to visit Scribit. Have a nice day. See you soon.